What is going on, everybody? It's KBR Sports with Brendan Abbin, the best sports talk show, whichever one, of your 24-hour day. Remember, you all can follow and subscribe to the KBR Sports Podcast going on Rabble TV, Spreaker, YouTube, iTunes, and SoundCloud. Also, make sure you follow the KBR Sports Twitter page at KBR_sports with the live links and show topics as prior to every single show. Also, don't forget that you can comment, like, and share the KBR Sports Podcast. One, most importantly, to give your feedback on the show and give your opinions on any KBR Sports show topic that I might have discussed, and to also show support for the show, which is always greatly appreciated whenever you all show the support and give some love to the podcast. It's always appreciated here on the show. And also don't forget to check out my new website, BrendanAbbin.com, where I have a centralized hub for all Brendan Abbin content and where you can find the podcast, where you can find my new blog. You can find it all on there. So make sure you go check out BrendanAbbin.com. You won't regret it. But all right, y'all, jumping into this next topic, talking about the NFL and the New York Jets. The New York Jets trying to make some moves, man. They're trying to make franchise-changing moves, evidently. New York Jets acquired the number 3 overall pick from the Indianapolis Colts, and acquiring the number 3 overall pick with the Colts, the Jets are sending their 6th-round pick of this draft. They're set 37th and the 49th overall picks from this year's draft. Then and also a second-rounder in 2019 to the Colts. So you can only imagine that the Jets are, with this move, after they kind of lost out, they did lose out on the Kirk Cousins sweepstakes. Essentially, you can only imagine that now they're trying to target quarterbacks like a Sam Darnold, a Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, even Baker Mayfield. And right now, the quarterbacks they have on roster are Teddy Bridgewater and Josh McCown. Teddy Bridgewater is coming off a really nasty knee injury, in which kept him sidelined for pretty much a year and a half. After what happened, now we saw what happened, what led into Casey Keenum leading them to a deep playoff run, and which we saw the Minnesota Miracle. But it's one of those things that you see the Jets are now making those moves that a lot of people tend to criticize teams sometimes, because they're like, hey, if you have a quarterback that you are sold in on, or that you're bought in on, and you believe is that guy that can lift your franchise up from mediocrity, then you make the move to get that quarterback. I feel like that was just a lot of criticism what a lot of people had with, because when you see a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo get traded for a second-round pick, a lot of people are like, well, if the 49ers were able to get him for a second-round pick, how the heck did nobody else was able to get him when he was initially in last year's draft time? And the talk was that Bill Belichick wasn't making him available for trade. But the fact is, you're trying to tell me that people weren't willing to trade a first-round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo, and he was traded for a second-round pick to the Patriots from the 49ers? And it's one of those things that a lot of people are just they're kind of baffled and wondering if teams are actually willing to do what it takes to get that quarterback that so many teams desperately need, because it seems like a lot of teams are willing to either just kind of bide their time and wait back, and hopefully the pick results in their favor, or they do actually make the jump and make the move to go get that guy who could change the franchise. Because let's look at the Jets' slate of quarterbacks over the past few years, and let's see how bad their list of quarterbacks have been. Teddy Bridgewater hasn't suited up for them yet, but he is one of the quarterbacks now on the roster. So I mean, I guess I won't really count him because he hasn't played yet, because if he played and he was phenomenal, then it wouldn't really be a bad note for them. But let's look at the list of guys. You got Josh McCown, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Geno Smith, Mark Sanchez, Brett Favre, Chad Pennington. Just a short list of guys that the Jets have had dating back to practically 10 years from today. And you see that in that list, I mean, it's sad for the Jets, because in that time period, the Jets have not had a top 10 offense since 1998, and that means ranking top 10 in points and yardage. They did have a year where they were 9th in points, but they were outside of the top 10 in yardage. But they have not had a top 10 offense since 1998, when I believe Ray Lucas was their quarterback. So that just speaks to something for the Jets. So when you're in a division with Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and you're trying to make moves to catch up to them, because they've been the standard in the division for years at this point, and they've just been dominating that division for since Tom Brady and Bill Belichick made their first Super Bowl run. So it is a situation where if you're the Jets, you couldn't sit idly by and just watch them continue to run roughshod on that division. And it's interesting because you see now that the Jets have made this move. As a result of their move, the Browns could honestly end up going and getting a quarterback now with a number 1 overall pick, after all the news that we heard about them possibly going to get Saquon Barkley, the whole 9. Now you could possibly see them, because now they're realizing, hey, our guy might not be there, because if the Giants possibly take a quarterback with the number 2 pick, if now the Jets take a quarterback with the number 3 pick, the guy that we want might be gone. Because at that point, if let's say the Browns are eyeing Josh or Sam Darnold, or they're eyeing Josh Allen or somebody, at that point you only got, if you take Saquon Barkley with the first pick, then there's a 50% chance that your guy could be gone, and then you're left with only 2 guys. So you just don't really want to be in that situation. So now it seems like the Browns are more likely to take a quarterback with that first pick as opposed to taking Saquon than using their 4th pick to take a quarterback. So I think that kind of just lights a more of a urgent fire under the Browns, because that's a team that also where a lot of people were criticizing them, because it's like, okay, you really were going to take a running back with your number 1 overall pick when everybody knows, and their grandmother, that the number 1 position you guys have always struggled at is quarterback, and you haven't had a quarterback in years. And you're going to take a quarterback, or you're going to take a running back because you felt like it was less of a gamble, despite the fact that a quarterback, if you hit on a quarterback, most of your franchise worries are solved. If you hit on a running back, yeah, you got a great running game, but if your running back can't lead you to prosperity. Just ask the Rams last year. They hit on Todd Gurley, even in Todd Gurley's rookie year. Not the past season, not the previous season. This past when the Rams were 11-5. I'm talking about the year before that, the Jeff Fisher year's Rams, when they hit on Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley's a great player, but a rookie year Todd Gurley, they still didn't perform great. Then the next season they only had 4 wins, so that's even with Todd Gurley on the roster. But when you hit on a quarterback and you have a great quarterback, Jared Goff's play elevated. The Rams ended up having 11-5, and Jared Goff was able to maximize Todd Gurley. So if you get the quarterback that you believe is the guy that can change around your franchise, you go get that quarterback. If you're the Browns, particularly, as we just saw the Jets do. So when you look at the totality of the trade now, the Colts GM Chris Ballard had to say about the trade. Being able to pick up the 2 2s this year and then 2 next year, that gives us 4 picks this year in the top 50 picks of the draft, and then 3 picks next year, 1 in the first and 2 in the second. So it gives us a chance to really replenish our young talent and start building a core of young talent that we need to do. And that's true. The Colts are an older team, man, and they've been like, it's one of those things that they put Andrew Luck through so much. They haven't got him the pieces that he's needed for years, and it's like he's needed a defense. He hasn't had an offensive line, and now you're seeing it. The man played with a lacerated kidney 2 or 3 years ago. A lacerated kidney. Just saying that puts me in pain. I'm sorry, y'all. It just doesn't sound friendly. A lacerated kidney. That sounds terrible. And now he's been out with a shoulder injury for pretty much a whole year, and he didn't play at all last season. And you understand why, because of the fact that you don't want to bring a guy back, whether it's premature or whatever it may be. You don't want to bring him back to just get him more beat up. You actually want to put him in a situation where you believe you can protect him and give him quality players to surround him, not just in the skills positions, but also in the front line position, and also on the defensive side of the ball, so that so much of the burden isn't befalling on him. And it makes his job so much more easier. So I do like this trade. I mean, especially for the Colts, because now the Colts have 9 picks in this year's NFL draft. So I think that's a really good bargain for them, and I think that sets them up in the long game to have a lot of that young talent. But hopefully the young talent, they pick well, because getting the picks is only half of the game. Utilizing them in the right way is another game all entirely. Making the correct picks, getting great talent for cheap is pretty much the definition of the NFL. It's pretty much the definition of all pro sports. Using your draft picks to make the best pick selections that possible, using your later round draft picks to get the best talent available, to get the diamonds and gemstones that nobody else recognizes, and then retaining that talent for the maximum amount of years you can retain it for the cheap. So that way your cap number is so much lower, but you have so many talented players at that low cap number. But all right, y'all, that's going to be it for the topic today. Remember, it's KBR Sports, the best sports talk show, your 24-hour day with Brendan Abbin. Make sure you all go and follow and subscribe to the KBR Sports Podcast by going on Rabble TV, Spreaker, YouTube, iTunes, and SoundCloud. That way you'll receive notifications whenever the KBR Sports Podcast is posted and whenever it's streaming live. Also, don't forget to follow the KBR Sports Twitter page at KBR_sports, where the live links and show topics are tweeted prior to every single show. And wherever KBR Sports updates are happening, it's tweeted up on the KBR Sports Twitter page. So make sure you go check that out. And also don't forget to comment, like, and share the KBR Sports Podcast for number 1, to show your support, to give your opinions on the show, and then 2, just to give your support for the show, which is always appreciated, because your opinions on the show, I I appreciate all the support and all that, but I do like to hear people's opinions on topics and things I say. I don't care whether or not you agree with me or disagree with me or not, but I do like to hear other points of views and what people have to say. It always makes things interesting, because sometimes people make points that are like opposing my points. I'm like, wow. Well, you look at that. Wow, great point. A lot of time when I have a point, I've done a lot of research behind that point, so I like to see if somebody can counteract that point with something that's just as valid. And I'd like to put the forum out there for you all to be able to do that. But all right, y'all, everybody have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Remember, it's the start of a great week. Don't look at it as a negative thing. All right, everybody, it's KBR Sports.